GFS community. This is your host and head of student welfare here at GFS, Nyasha Vador. I'm so excited to finally announce the GFS Wellbeing Podcast and welcome you all to the first episode of this podcast, which will circulate around the topic of mental health. I also have here with me a few students from my welfare council, Arman and Shane.
Hello! What's up?
Who will be part of this fun podcast and our future podcasts as well. I'm so honored today to introduce our first guest of the show, Ms. Audrey Hametner, who's the COO of Upstrive. I'm sure you'll have heard of the Upstrive and are using it daily as it's super helpful for our SLT to track GFS student welfare here. Ms. Audrey will be giving us valuable insights to what mental health is and how she came up with the idea of Upstrive. So guys, can we please have a round of applause for her? So I would like for Ms. Audrey to now introduce herself.
My name is Audrey Hametner, and I am the COO, Chief Operating Officer of Upstrive GmbH.
So excited to have you here, Miss. My first question is, can you share with us the journey of Upstrive and how it came to exist?
So Upstrive came to exist because Linda Bonner, who is a coach and has been a teacher for over 18 years, wrote a book called... She wrote a book.
Okay.
And that book sparked another coach, which is Sven Minecraft, to want to put that book in an app. It's a really great book to support teenagers and to help them to become more resilient and give them tools and tips and tricks. And originally Upstrive was supposed to be a B2C product, so directly for youth to be able to use on their own. And that was in the end of 2019, and then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And by mid-2020 or early 2020, we realized that, we want to do more with this. So I was originally brought in to write a few pieces in the book on the career side, because I'm a career coach for youth. But I'm also a strategist, and I have a company that advises on operations, risk, governance, and strategy. And so I got into the Upstrive. At that time, it was called, it had a completely different name, like BU or B for You. Anyways, and then by the summer 2020, we realized this isn't going to work. We need to do something that's going to allow teachers to have more effect and work directly with the youth in their school, because during COVID, it was really hard for them to see what was happening, and youth were really heavily affected. And that's when we pivoted. So we changed in summer 2020, and then I was working with Sven and with Linda on how do we create something that has more impact and gives the school more opportunity to help, as opposed to helping the youth help themselves, because that takes a bit longer. And then in October 2020, we launched.
Next question for you, Miss, is, can you share a personal experience or realization that highlighted the importance of mental health for you?
Give me a minute. I have lots. And we're talking about, like, in general?
In general.
Okay, yes. So I would say that I realized mental health was really important when I was in high school. And I had a couple of friends who we hung out with and spent an amazing amount of time with, just goofing around and being kids. And then trauma hit one of my friends in the family. And she just completely changed. She withdrew within herself. She was distant. She felt lonely. And so she perceived herself as being lonely, even though we were always around her trying to make her feel better. And it was the first time that I actually saw how people can live trauma at home throughout their lives. And it was the first time that I realized, oh my gosh, like, this actually has a real effect on people. And now that I think about it, I think it played a part in terms of my career trajectory, because originally I wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer and help people who have been traumatized wrongly by the legal system and help them to get out of it, and so that the cops can go find the real bad people and not the good people, because you also see that play out, as I did when I was young, on TV. So that would be the first time.
So, Miss, can you please tell us how Upstrive contributes to the promotion of mental health awareness and support?
So Upstrive is actually quite pivotal for the promotion of mental health within the education system. And for us, or for me, it starts with self-declaration. So being able to identify it for yourself and call out to a teacher or the counselor and say, Miss or Sir, something's going on and I'm not quite sure what it is. And then giving the teacher or the counselor the agency to be able to come to you and say, let me help, right? So a lot of students will, even if they're the most bubbly, fun, playful students, everyone knows them, when it comes to mental health or when it comes to feeling sad, a lot of people are really nervous about sharing that, right? They don't know how much they're going to share. They don't know if people are going to judge them. They don't know how to say it. And so having that opportunity to sometimes say it electronically removes some of the fear. And so then by the time someone reaches out, it's a little bit easier. The other thing about Upstrive that I love is once the carers, the teachers or counselors, are seeing a pattern, there's tools inside that can help them recognize what that pattern is for the students and actually be proactive to help. So even if there ends up being students that haven't yet come forward, they're going to benefit from the programs and the surveys and the polls and just that general discussion about some of the issues that might be top of mind for the students at that time, which then allows those students that didn't say something to kind of go, hey miss, I know I never said anything before, and share. And so I love that about Upstrive, is the fact that it supports the students supporting themselves by identifying it and coming to the teachers, and it gives the teachers a way that they know positively they can help the students, because not all teachers are trained, right, in well-being and mental health. They're trained in academics and they're trained in teaching. And so some of them they're unsure of what's the right way, how do I approach this, what do I say? But because we have so much tools and tips in Upstrive, we have ways to share with them the best way to start the conversation, and then allow the people who are trained to take over from there.
Okay, Miss, can you share a success story or a positive outcome that demonstrates the impact of Upstrive's efforts in the mental health space?
So there's been a number of scenarios around the world, actually, because we're a global application, in which I personally have had teachers come to me and tell me stories where students that they thought were happy and bubbly and well-rounded were actually masking true anxiety and fear and frustration, and found that only through using Upstrive were they able to say it, because they felt that they could let that mask down and be honest at a time when they felt vulnerable. And I think that those times for me is really when I feel most proud of what we've built, because Upstrive is there to give a voice to every student. And it doesn't matter if the student is an introvert or an extrovert or is always able to, look the part and be that happy-go-lucky student. Not everybody is able to share and recognize how they feel. And there's a lot of insecurity and worry that students feel when it comes to sharing emotions, right? Will they tell my parents? Is everyone going to be all over me about this? Are they going to give me space to breathe and figure it out? Or are they going to get mad and impose their own emotions on how I feel for whatever reason? And through Upstrive, we've been able to give teachers and counselors the ability to have more insight and see that, okay, even our happiest students sometimes aren't so happy, and the students who are quiet in the corner that we've been worried about, they're fine. Leave them alone. They're just quiet in the corner, doing their thing, enjoying life their way. And that's where that beautiful balance comes in, where we feel that we're really impacting the lives of students and giving them a chance to live life their way while giving them space to reach out when they want to or when they need to or when they deem necessary, as opposed to feeling like someone's intruding on their privacy and not allowing them the chance to figure stuff out. So that's where I would say I really feel proud of what we've been able to accomplish in terms of helping students, but also to help the teachers, right? Because teachers who have had classes that are deemed difficult is usually because they don't really know how to deal with this bit, right? I'm a math teacher. I'm not a well-being teacher, right? How do I manage this? How do I make this better? And that causes anxiety in teachers. And I'm sure that as a student you would have seen it, and then you're like, well, this teacher sucks because they're not able to control the class, or, I'm not able to pay attention because it's so disruptive. But when they have tools like our app, they learn some techniques and they can share some things with the class that kind of makes the children who are being disruptive understand that they can be heard and supported in other ways, which then allows for a much more comfortable learning environment.
Okay, Ms. And finally, are there any misconceptions about mental health that you've encountered, and how does Upstrive work to dispel them?
Ooh, good question. So there's a lot of misconceptions about mental health. A lot of people, and I think this is because of past history, right? When you hear the term mental health, most people think, mental. The person's kind of crazy and something's going on. And then, of course, there are the misconceptions that if you have a mental illness or a mental disease, you're born with it, and then that's about it. There's nothing you can do about it, except for maybe manage it. And in fact, what people don't realize is there's a whole spectrum when you use the term mental health, right? And it's not just those who are suffering from severe mental health that they're born with and you're just managing, all the way through to just feeling sad and anxious about something and stressed about something. And so the misconception is that if you have an uncomfortable emotion, if you share it, you'll get labeled. And if you get labeled, then that label sticks to you like glue and you can't get rid of it. When actually, because of the spectrum, there's a lot of mental health that can be worked on, supported, treated. And there's a lot of ideas about mental health that it needs to be managed. In actuality, we all have mental health, right? It's the health of our mind. So one day you're happy, one day you're sad, that's normal, right? One day you feel blue and another day you feel ecstatic, or it could be an hour, it could be, 2 hours ago. And it's really about learning how to recognize how you feel, which is where Upstrive comes in, giving you the opportunity to reflect. And it's about acknowledging that it's okay if I feel that way right now, right? That's just how I feel. It's like I'm hungry. Okay, now I ate and I'm full, right? I'm lonely and now I have my friends and I'm not lonely anymore. I'm full, right? So it's about a new way of looking at it and a new way of experiencing and being comfortable with yourself, because we can't live all one emotion for our whole lives. That would be the worst, right? How do you know if you're happy if you've never been sad? How do you know you're anxious if you're always worried, right? So I think that would be the best way that Upstrive is leaning into the argument, is to allow you to recognize it's normal, the range is broad, and we don't even give you the full range, it's the whole spectrum of emotions, and that sharing it is okay. Recognize it, share it, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. There should be no judgment on your emotion. It's just an emotion. So Upstrive is here primarily to support students, right? Students should use the tools that are there and designed for them to use in a way that feels comfortable for them. And the first thing is to get on and just share how you feel. You know, just get used to identifying, how do I feel today? And okay, is this better or worse than I felt yesterday? You know, and leave a comment if you think, okay, I'm worried that the teacher's going to think this has to do with, you know, that shouting match I had in, you know, class 5G or what have you. So, you know, leave a comment so they know this is not about you, this is about my friends, or this is not about you, this is about family, and I may not talk to you about it, but if you see me looking grumpy, don't worry, right? Like, I'm okay, I'm just dealing with stuff. So it's really that alternative voice to be able to just say, guys, you know, either come help me, I don't know how to ask, or I'm a little sad today, but like, it's okay. I just want to be a little sad today, you know? And then the teachers that know you or that you have that relationship might feel compelled to just sort of come by and check in. And it's important for teachers to do this because if they don't know how you feel, then they make their own assumptions. Heavens knows what that's about, right? Like, you don't want them making the assumptions on how you feel because more than likely they're going to get it wrong because they're not you. So Upstrive really supports you as a student when you think about how it can help you and then you use it that way, which then helps the teachers because if someone's looking sad in the class or someone's being disruptive, it gives them a talking point to kind of help, right? For the administration and the teachers and the senior leadership, it just makes them a bit more aware. And by them being aware, it's easier to show you care. If you have no idea why things are happening, then you're just taking a stab in the dark on how to fix it. And sometimes that is worse, right? If you know, like your parents at home, they try to fix something and you're like, dude, what did you just, I wasn't even upset about that, right? And it goes into a different tangent. So in the end, the tool is there to give you the full spectrum of support. You learn about yourself a bit. The teachers learn how to support you a little bit. They can give you some tools and tips through programs or questions or what have you. And then the administration can also work with the teachers and calm them down if need be, so that, you know, you're given the space to breathe and become resilient and to make your mistakes and to have some fun, knowing that you're in a safe space. And in the end, that's what we really want to do, is create a safe space for students.
Well, Miss, this is the end of our questions. Thank you so much for being part and giving us the importance of well-being in school and the innovative app you've been part to aid students' well-being in school. And thank you so much, guys, for listening and being part of today's episode. See you guys in our next episode and stay tuned for what we have coming up. This is Nyasha Badar and the welfare team signing off. Woo!